The mystery around what will happen in the 5-day special parliament session convened by the government continues. Will the session see the introduction of a law to hold simultaneous elections in India? That's the big question. I'm Barkha Dutt, here with the Mojo story. Our focus today continues to be around the political debate in the country, even as the opposition meets to present a united face in Maharashtra. The government actually wrested the headlines from the opposition by declaring that there would be a special session of the parliament convened later this month. There are many theories flying fast and furious as to what this session could be about, ranging from the passage of the Women's Reservation Bill to a special session dedicated to foreign policy and the decisions taken at the upcoming G20, and also fevered speculation about whether a law may finally be moved to introduce the concept of one nation, one election. In other words, the simultaneous holding of both Assembly and Lok Sabha elections. This has happened before. In fact, it used to happen in one way or the other till 1967. But is it feasible to do today? Is it even desirable? And can it actually be done in a 5-day sitting of Parliament? Some lawyers have suggested that the ratification of the state assemblies may not be necessary. Others argue that it will be. Let's go across now to somebody whose life has been dedicated, at least recently, to the conducting of free and fair elections in India. We're joined by S.Y. Quraishi, former Chief Election Commissioner of India. Always a pleasure to see you, sir. Let me start by asking you, the Election Commission early on had expressed the desirability of such a model because of the kind of expenditure that goes into the holding of elections. We know that 60,000 crores were spent in the 2019 elections alone. But we keep hearing of this one nation, one election. Even now, the former president is sitting on a panel, but it's not the first panel. We had a Law Commission report in 2018. We've had multiple reports before, multiple committees before. How do you see what is happening this time?
Well, Barkha, as you rightly said, this issue has been on the table for a long time. In fact, even before Prime Minister Modi, they mentioned it in 2014. Mr. Advani had talked about it in 2010. And actually, long back, Mr. Vasansate had talked about it. So it has been, this debate has been going on for a long time. But obviously, we have not come to a conclusion because it is a very complex issue. If it was doable, if it was possible, it would have happened long ago, particularly in the present regime, which is normally very decisive, right? So, in any case, even the Prime Minister asked for a national debate. He did not thrust it on the nation. He said, let there be a national debate. And the debate has been going on, and we have moved in circles. There have been, as you mentioned, 4 committees. Parliamentary Committee in 2015, Niti Aayog studied it, Law Commission did. So, and now another committee is being constituted. So, let us see what happens. About the proposal itself, if you like me to continue at this point, it has both pros and cons, which I have been writing from the beginning. In fact, the very first article which I wrote in 2014, I said the headline in the newspaper was desirable but not feasible. For which, let me tell you, Barkha, I got a lot of flack from some people. They said, what the hell do you mean by desirable? It is not even desirable. So now the point you raised about the Election Commission's point of view. Now, Election Commission's point of view, according to me, for Election Commission, this is the best thing to happen because all 3 elections happening at the same time. We conduct elections in a month or 2 months, and for 5 years there is no election, and we go and play golf. But it is not our comfort and convenience that is important. We are paid to do elections and not to postpone or defer elections. Therefore, convenience of the Election Commission is totally irrelevant. Now, this expenditure which you mentioned, 60,000. 60,000 is not a management, the expenditure is the conduct of the election by the government or the Election Commission.
By political party spending and Election Commission. I should have said that.
Yes. You should have, yeah. Now, if you did not, I'm saying it now because these two are very distinct. Now, 4,000 crores actually for the largest democracy in the world is pittance. We should not even be talking about it. To save to 5 crores, if we want to change the system, that is not worth talking about. The other 60,000 crores, actually, it is debatable. Well, that 60,000, is it an expenditure which should be avoided? It's a very desirable expenditure. It is the politicians' money which is being recycled and goes to the poor, to the carpenter, to the painter, to the auto driver, to all those workers. So for whom election is the only the income opportunity.
So you're saying elections are actually a source of income?
Yes, it creates employment. It is good for India's economy. In fact, there are two things I would like to mention. One, Mr. What's his name? BJD's MP. I'll just recall his name. He once mentioned, if you ask the people, what is it that they want? They love frequent elections because that is the election is the only importance they have. Otherwise, what happens is after 5 years, after winning the election, an MLA or an MP goes missing. How many times have we heard this when there are posters put up in the city, Gumshuda ki talash, missing, wanted, the guy, the MP is missing, MLA is missing, because they never go back. At least because of frequent elections, they have to go back. It increases their accountability. So that's a good thing for India, for people's economy. That's a good thing. And I heard a very interesting slogan in one of these conferences in Pune by a Chhattisgarh girl. She says, जब जब चुनाव आता है, गरीब के पेट में पुलाव आता है. Now you want to deny this pulao to the गरीब के 5 साल तक वो भूखा रहे, 5 साल बाद उसको पुलाव मिलेगा. Now this is the other dimension, which is a very serious dimension, not to be taken very casually, and it should be a part of the debate. So therefore, now advantages from the election point of view conduct, yes, it's a good thing because voter is the same for all three tiers. Polling station is the same for all three tiers. The managing team, which is the district administration, is the same. Security apparatus is the same. So therefore, if you go to a polling station which has been ready for you and secured for you, you go, instead of pressing one machine, you press 3 machines and a simultaneous election happens. That's a very nice, convenient thing. But there are other issues. Now, even one thing I would like to remind you, and I would not like this to be forgotten, original proposal of the Prime Minister was simultaneous election of all 3 tiers of the democracy. Now, 30 lakh punches, 4,120 MLAs, then the MPs 543. Over a period of time, we have forgotten about Panchayat election. Panchayat election for a voter is as important as a Lok Sabha election. In fact, perhaps more important, which is why, Barkha, you would have noticed, the lower you go in the democratic exercise, the more contested the election, the more violent the election, because the stakes are much higher in the local election, the Panchayat election. So therefore, now somebody is, then secondly, the question of mixing up of the issues. In the local, at Panchayat level, municipal level, what are the issues? The drain in front of my house, the Anganwadi, the primary school. Now, at that time, are you bothered what should be India's policy towards Ukraine? When my Nali in front of my house is troubling me.
So this mixing up of issues, sorry to interrupt you, but I want to share with you the findings of an old survey. This survey actually found that if you were to hold state and Lok Sabha elections together, the tendency is that 77% voters will choose the same party or alliance, and the tendency will be to go for a strong government at the center, because as you said, the issues get mixed up, and 61%, if polls are held 6 months apart, even then 61% voters will choose same party or alliance. But if they're held together, then many more people will choose the same party or alliance. So Quraishi Sahab, I want you to respond to this, because often we see, and I can quote straight away 2-3 examples to you: Rajasthan, Karnataka, Delhi. These are places where the voter voted very differently in the state election and very differently in the national election. And the voters saw these 2 elections and the sets of choices available to her as very different. Now, if you club them together, will the voter also have the tendency to club the issues together?
Yes, yeah, I'm glad, Barkha, you just showed these figures, because I was going to quote these figures to you in a moment. But you preempted me by showing these figures. Now, these are the figures which are crucial, which is why the proposal.
Explain.
Otherwise, the fact, take Rajasthan. All 25 seats went to one party for Lok Sabha, and for Vidhan Sabha, somebody else came to power. So now that is what is troubling. These figures are the reason. So although people say, after all, 23% people voted differently in the same election, but then the fact that 77% people voted for the same party as they did for the national election. Now this is the key issue, and we have to keep these figures in mind in the debate.
Do you think simultaneous polls create an unfair disadvantage for regional parties?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, which is why they have been opposing it. And let us see how they react to this proposal. Because you also must have seen the Law Commission of 2018. That Law Commission was constituted in the current regime. And what was their conclusion? They mentioned that it will involve amendment to 5 articles of the Constitution, Article
Yes.
83, 85, 172, 174, and Article 356, and the 10th schedule of the Constitution, which is very serious. Beside Representation of People Act 1951, which is easier, rule of procedure, which are easier, but the fact that constitutional amendment will be required, possible, but very difficult.
Although, lawyers we've been talking to yesterday said that, not all constitutional amendments, as you know, need the ratification of assemblies. So technically, there is one view that these amendments, even though 5 are needed, may not need the ratification of the assemblies. But there's one other complication, and the Law Commission 2018 addresses this. It says that you will have to change, possibly, the tenure of a state assembly, which means that you have to either make it longer or shorter. So the Law Commission gives, can we take this banner off? The Law Commission gives 3 options. Option 1, postpone or advance the state assembly elections. Then Justice Chauhan, who headed the Law Commission, says, if this is accepted, then you may be looking at a scenario in option 2 where simultaneous elections are held, but only twice. They're held twice in 5 years instead of once in 5 years. And option 3, the Law Commission argued that if there's no political consensus, then you can club in a given year the assemblies and the Lok Sabha election. Now, this last point is what is leading to rumors in the corridors of power that perhaps that may be what can happen. What is your own view, sir? Listening to you, I feel like you're not a big fan of simultaneous elections.
No, I would not say that I'm even a critic of it. I'm only giving you a balanced picture. There are pros and there are cons. Pros I have counted, the cons we are now discussing. Now, here, as I have mentioned to you earlier, I would now take you back to the original proposal. It's a simultaneous election of all 3 tiers. We have very conveniently dropped the 3rd tier panchayat election. For a voter in a village, panchayat election is more important than Lok Sabha election. And you have totally ignored it because you realize that the simultaneous election is really not possible there. So you dropped it. So 30 lakh voters go, 30 lakh elected representatives gone from your reckoning. That leaves us with 4,120 MLAs. There also you're saying that do it in 2 installments. That reduces it to 2,000. So with so much of dilution, what moral authority is left in the proposal?
Right. So basically, we come back to what you said, desirable but not feasible. More theoretically, it sounds more like an idea that is good but can't be executed.
Yes, correct. At the same time, when I said my initial headline was desirable, but for which I got a lot of abuse, and then which made me think, and I realized that even the Law Commission, which you are just now showing on the screen, they even mentioned, while they mentioned that these amendments will be required, and they says further, these amendments are amenable to legal challenges in accordance with the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution. Now, the Law Commission itself is pointing out, so therefore, some lawyers may have told you whatever they did yesterday, but the fact is that this will be debated in Supreme Court, and it will take years.
So this is not a quick fix material for a 5-day parliament session for sure.
Correct. But one thing which that can be tried right now, as it is, every Lok Sabha election has 4 or 5 states going to the poll around the same time, and they are clubbed. So to that extent, we have a simultaneous election. Now, what can happen is now It is up to the BJP to dissolve all their state assemblies, and instead of 5 going together, there will be 12 going together with the Lok Sabha. That will be mini simultaneous election. See the result for yourself. I think that is in your hands. No constitutional amendment required. You go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I doubt any chief minister will want that. It's an inherent risk. But you're saying that that can be done easily. It's in the BJP's hands. Let me ask you a last question. Therefore, if you were to say what should happen next, there's yet another committee. What should happen next? Many reports have been written on this issue. अब इस पे
Yeah.
आगे क्या होना चाहिए?
मैं बताता हूँ. Why the reasons, the 3 reasons which were given for simultaneous election: a lot of kharcha, then the normal activity of the government comes to a standstill. So if I give you alternative routes to achieve that, now one is from 60,000 crore, I can bring it down to 5,000 crores. And my solution is 1 minute solution for the government. There is a ceiling on the expenditure of every candidate for Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha.
Yeah.
You can't spend more than say 80 lakhs for Lok Sabha, whatever is the figure. But the party can spend 8 crores, 80 crores. No, that makes a mockery of the ceiling, the concept of ceiling. Put a ceiling as we have in UK. Just put a ceiling on a political party expenditure and it comes down drastically to 4,000. So your expenditure demand is taken care of. Secondly, everything comes to a standstill is a wrong allegation. I have questioned it all the time. Why? If you just read the model code, Barkha, you yourself, and please do a program on model code. All it says that no new schemes will be introduced. No new programs, all old programs will continue. And in case of emergency like earthquake or any disaster, even a new program can be undertaken with the permission of the Election Commission or even without that. So, therefore, nothing comes to a standstill. And why is it that all the bright ideas for new schemes which get interrupted because of the model code, they come to the mind of the politicians only 4 years, 11 months after they have been in power? Only 2 weeks before the election, they think of bright schemes, and then they blame the Election Commission and the model code that the Election Commission is not allowing this to happen. The work has come to a standstill. Nothing comes to a standstill. And finally, one solution. The only reason that the elections are extended over 2.5 to 3 months, that is because to save lives. And every political party demands that we bring paramilitary forces from outside the state. Their number is limited. So we have to see how many sensitive booths, hypersensitive booths, and to secure them, we need paramilitary forces. And if they are not enough, so we rotate from one phase to the other, to the second, to the third. If we can get paramilitary forces in adequate numbers upfront in the first place, from 7 phases, we can bring it down to 1 phase. I guarantee election can be completed in 33 days, not 2.5 months. So look at that. Why is it not being even discussed?
So you are saying in conclusion that there are the 3 reasons given to hold simultaneous polls. All 3 have an alternative. And let me sum up those alternatives. 1, cap political spending. Cap political spending. 2, you disagree that the model code of conduct brings governance and administrative decision making to a standstill, and in special circumstances there are enough provisions for the government to step in. You also question why decisions are announced only so close to the polls, and the last is that if there were enough paramilitary forces allocated, then the time taken to hold elections could significantly come down. In conclusion, there are 3 easy alternatives to the holding of simultaneous elections if the political intent is there.
Yes, correct. In fact, Barkha, let me finish on that. The only 3 parties are affected by prolonged elections. Election Commission itself, because wherever the election, if it may be in one district or somewhere, Election Commission is as involved, and the political party is top brass, and you, the media. Now, for you are enjoying it, repeated elections, are you not? You'll go out of business if there are no elections. So therefore, who is complaining? Not the voter. Now, if election is happening in Delhi or in Ghaziabad, is your life affected? My life is affected as an election commission. Yours is not. You would not even know that election is happening next door. to say that yes, of course, the election is happening somewhere or the other, but how is it bothering everybody? It is only confined to the area where the election is being held. It is only involve the political parties, but their job is election. So they cannot look down upon election as contempt because that is their job.
Very interesting. You have given three very easy to implement alternatives, certainly easier than to implement the one nation, one poll, which is a very complex issue. And let's take these 3 points into the public domain and get reactions to what you've said. Thank you, S.Y. Quraishi. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, sir. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.